All right, and we're live. Hey guys, welcome to the stream. Super excited to have Mr. Locario with me. I've followed Mr. Locario for a while. I don't know how much my audience knows about you, but I'll let you introduce yourself to them.
Yeah, so what's up, guys? Appreciate you having me on here, Coach White Pill. Appreciate it. So my name is Mr. Locario. They call me the bad boy of the dating game. I've been coaching men and women on the game for the past like 15 years, so it's been a minute. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's what I do. That's my thing. I just teach people, the reality game, how to get exactly what you want out of the game and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Yeah, man, you do so many streams. I've actually followed you for a while. I know I called in your show about a year ago. So,
Right.
but I'll get into this in a minute. Why don't you just start by telling me how you got into coaching, how you got into the game, like where you came from, like what brought you to, wanting to set this up, do all this stuff for these guys.
Yeah, I mean, well, what happened was like I started coaching around when I was young. I was like 26, so I was like still, what I'm saying, young or whatever. But what happened was I used to work in an after school program. I used to work in a gym. So I was doing all these different jobs, right? But what I said to myself, I was talking to my business partner, who's also one of my best friends, and I was like, look, I want to do something that's like my own thing, but I can like, have a business that can help some people, and make some money and do what I do. So we came up with this, I wrote a list of things that I thought I was good at. And one of the things on the list was getting laid. So then I was like, all right, either porn star or fucking teaching other guys how to get laid. So that's how the whole coaching thing came up. But the funny part was I didn't know at the time, I didn't know people didn't understand how to attract women. I knew certain things were out there like that, but I didn't know it was like a big thing where, a lot of guys need help. So I was like, well, I'll do this, and I'll probably could, help a few guys out here and there, and then I'll probably have to move on to something else. But I didn't know that it was this like big of a thing, a market where dudes actually needed it. Because since I understood like how to do certain things from like my own experience, plus other people that taught me stuff, I didn't know it was like that big of a deal. So now that I know that it is big of a deal, I was like, okay, let me continue to do this. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, let's make it happen. Yeah.
Cool, man. Cool. That's a cool story.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I follow your content, it's funny. I don't always get to watch it, but just your title of your stream, sometimes I'm like, damn, that's so true. And it's like counter to what, a lot of the other creators talk about on YouTube. And I think one of the tricky things, I don't know about you, but, in this industry, like, they want the real stuff about women, but they don't want the real stuff about men and what they need to do. No one wants to hear that it's their fault, that they have to do this work, that they have to improve, that they have to learn this stuff. A lot of the guys already went to the gym for years and didn't get anywhere. They're like, oh, now I got to do this other thing, learn game and stuff. So I want to ask you, like, how do you navigate that stuff? Because honestly, it seems like when I look at YouTube, if you're just, the fluffy self-improvement channels that talk and don't really give you any practical tips, those get big. Those get like millions of views sometimes. And you talk the real stuff and you have a good audience, but it's not like millions of viewers. Like, what do you think is like the challenge of helping guys when it's almost like they just want to be told they're right, that it's women's fault?
Right. Well, it's one of those things, the saying that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. It's like that type of thing where a lot of guys, unfortunately, they gravitate to the fluffy type of surface level information, because that type of information doesn't require them to actually dig deep and look at themselves. So it's a lot of catchphrases, it's a lot of things that sound nice or whatever that make you feel good, but it doesn't actually make you be better or be good. You understand? And so in order for you to be good, what happens is that you have to work on yourself. So that's the hardest thing to do. Right. The other day I was on my I do a show called the Bad Boy Show, me and my dude Miles, and we were talking about this, how a lot of guys, they like convenience over doing the work. So what it is that, especially nowadays, with like online dating, Instagram, just even other things in life where you could just get on your phone and just like order some food from somewhere. Like there's a lot of convenience. But even with online dating, a lot of guys suck at that too, but that's a whole other story. But I'm just saying that the fact that there is that convenience keeps men lazy. And then so they don't actually put in the work they need to put in to actually get certain results. So what they want is they want to lean into the convenience, but then have the results of a man who's put in a lot of work. You see what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
even watching the videos where they're not saying anything really substantial to you, that's convenient because now it's like I get to feel like I'm self-improving, but I'm not really self-improving. So I don't have to do the actual work it takes, but I can feel like I am. And that's the thing, is that the feeling is what draws them in, but the actual work is what everybody shies away from, because that's what's going to really, make you have to sweat and do what you got to do. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Now, do you think, because a lot of channels talk about women's entitlement and they want a 6-foot guy and all these
Right.
things, but do you think that the men have it too, where you're saying like, okay, you can call an Uber, you can call a DoorDash, you can do you think they have this image of, oh, I should be able to go on Tinder and just order a girl, and do you think that plays a part where it's like, oh, I can't get anywhere because it's supposed to be easy. I'm supposed to get on the app. Whereas before the apps existed, there was no choice but to do the work. You had no option. You either tried or you knew you had no chance. Now it's the illusion of chance.
Exactly.
And then you get bitter because it's not convenient. So do you think there's like entitlement with that?
Yeah, well, definitely. It's definitely entitlement, because what also you got to understand too is most guys, what they want to happen is they want to do, because like we'll go back to those self-improvement videos. A lot of those videos, especially when they're trying to teach guys supposedly game or how to get girls or whatever and stuff like that, they teach them how to become a certain type of guy that girls will chase without them having to deal with girls. So for example, they're like, well, just go to the gym and gym max, bro. Just, looks max and, get a lot of money. So they're talking about all these things to do that don't involve them actually interacting with women. And then they're like, if you do this, then women will come and they'll just show up and everything's going to be fine. You see what I'm saying? So then they feel entitled when they do that, because they're like, well, I'm doing all this stuff. The girls should just, you know what I'm saying? Like they should just, get to me. And then if they're not getting girls, then they're like, well, maybe I got to make a little bit more money. Maybe I got to work out a little bit more. So there's this continuous thing where they can continuously be on this track of almost making it. So if it's not happening, I just got to do a little bit more. I got to make a little bit more money. I got to get a little bit more better looking. I got to, work out in the gym a little bit more, and then it will finally happen. The problem is that they run around in this hamster wheel because they're not actually tackling the real issue, which is who they are. You understand? So they're trying to tack on all of these surface things, but who they are deep down inside is the reason why they're not able to attract the woman. So they can attract the woman on a surface level generally, but usually that doesn't really take them so far. So for example, you might have a guy on a dating app. If he looks good, he could get a few matches. But if you don't know how to talk to the girl, get her off the app. And if he does get her off the app, does he know how to interact with her on a date to get her interested in him like that? So all of these other things are missing. And that's why they continue to go back to the videos that don't teach them anything, because they want to feel good. Because now they feel bad because I got the girl on a date because I looks maxed and I look good, but she wasn't feeling me. So now I got to go back to the video to figure out why. And then the content creator is like, bro, you gotta be a high value man and have 6 figures. Oh, let me work and get 6 figures, and then maybe, you see what I'm saying? So they're doing all these things without interacting with the women and also not working on themselves specifically. You see what I'm saying? That's the problem.
Yeah, I don't know if you agree with this, but I think there's also the illusion where the tall guy with the 6-pack and the money is out on a date with these girls, like you said, and doesn't know how to make it happen and close the deal.
Right.
And so the guys that aren't getting those dates, they see them sitting at the table next to them.
Right.
And they think they're all these tall, good-looking guys are hooking up with these girls, and they're not. Like I know a lot of those guys that don't close the deal with those girls. They just go on lots of dates with good-looking women, don't get anywhere.
Right.
So it's like the women will give them a chance more often, but it's kind of an illusion of that. But let me ask you this. So why do you think they do that? Do you think it's an avoidance because, the weight, when you go to the gym, the weight doesn't reject you, doesn't hurt your ego unless you can't lift it. And then you're like, well, it's like pretty scientific. Like if I can't lift this weight, then I do a little bit less, and then I do a little bit more and a little bit more. And eventually, I should be able to lift, up to, I can't lift 500 pounds, but I should be able to lift quite a bit.
Right.
And it's not rejecting me personally. The weight isn't. So do you think that's why they head to the gym? Because they don't have to deal with that pain and,
right. Well, that's part of it too. But also another part of it is that the reason why they'll not want to interact with women is because they use women as a litmus test to their value. So in the gym, they're like, well, I can go to the gym. If I can't lift this, I'm just by myself. And this gym thing doesn't necessarily matter in relation to how valuable I see myself. And so the only metric that most of these guys see themselves as valuable in is in relation to a woman. So this is the underlying thing, because understand, they're going to the gym, to Gym Max, so they can get women. You see what I mean? So it's going back to the woman, they're making it about the woman. So now they don't want to get rejected by the woman, because a rejection by a woman to them means I am not valuable. You see what I'm saying? So they don't want to have to face that type of interaction. And it doesn't actually mean they're not valuable, but in their head, they think they're not valuable if a woman does that. So it's safer to Gym Max so that they can be they have all the muscles and everything. So the chances of her rejecting him, quote unquote, will be less likely, because now I look the way that I think women want men to look. So therefore, it's less likely I will get rejected when I finally go out to interact with the girl. The funny part is that they're setting themselves up for more disappointment, because if they're doing that and they're still getting rejected, which is what is going to happen, right? Then they feel even worse, because they're like, damn, I got my muscles and everything. I started looking better, and I started having more money, and I still can't get the women that I want, or I'm still having trouble dealing with women. And then that's going to be the issue, where that's when it's almost like this. Most guys have to hit rock bottom before they actually adhere to game. Because what most dudes do is they try to find all these different shortcuts, ways to get around things, thinking about all this extra nonsense that they think is going to make it easier for them to get from point A to point B. And then when it doesn't, they finally have to admit and say, man, okay. It's just like when a person is like trying to get fit, and then they say, take these magic pills, just pop them in your mouth and you're going to get a six pack. And when they realize, damn, that it doesn't work after been doing it for a while, they're like, you know what? I just got to start eating right and lose weight, lose the fat, hit the gym. They realize they actually have to do something for real. You understand? So that's what it is, Yeah.
And looks maxing, obviously, with online dating has become like so much more popular. For me, it's very much like foot in the door. Like looks just gets you your foot in the door, gets you the chance. So I do think it plays a part, especially depending on the guy. If he's very unattractive and he's overweight, then that might get him started. And also self-esteem wise, like if you're going to approach, you got to be confident in how you look in order to approach. That's just as impactful as how she views your looks.
Right.
So where does looks fit into what you think, as far as like, should you do looks maxing and game? Is game way more important? Is looks, does game work with no looks? Like where's the scale for you in terms of looks and game?
Well, that's the thing. Looks is part of the game. That's why I try to tell people is that you can't separate it. So I hear this argument. A lot of people are like, well, your looks is part of the game. Everything is under the umbrella of game. So if you to simply define game as this, is that when we talk about game or the game, we're just talking about life. When we say having game, that means you have a strategy or some type of skill or know how to get what you want out of life. So now let's say if I'm like, okay, I'm going to use my looks, right? I'm a dark-skinned black dude. I go to an event, and I've actually had this happen before, where one of my friends, they hit me up and they was like, yo, there's this event coming, happening, next week, come through. There's going to be a lot of chicks there, blah, 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 right? So now the event that I went to, it was a singles event, right? For black women, specifically looking for black guys. You understand what I'm saying? So now what happened is that when I went to that event, there were a lot of black women there that were attracted to me because of my looks. Like literally like, oh my God, you're so handsome. You're so chocolatey, all that other stuff. Right. So I'm using my looks as a strategy to attract them into my situation in order to make something happen. So you can use your looks to your advantage if you want to do that. The problem, though, is that a lot of guys think that there's a separation between looks and game, and then they try to use just their looks in every situation, and then it doesn't work that way. Because now, let's say hypothetically, I'm at another event, and there's a bunch of different girls there, and let's say they might think I'm attractive, but I'm not necessarily their type. What if they like, a dude that, looks like you, a white dude, you understand, with a goatee and everything, they might like your look more than they like my looks. Now you can use your looks as an advantage to get you to interact with those women. But the problem a lot of guys do is they only use the aspect of looks and try to coast on that. And then what happens is that they're limiting their reach. So whenever you coast on anything, or whenever you use one thing or the other to as your your strategy or game, you usually lose out, because what happens is that you have to be a well-rounded individual. So yeah, take care of your looks, dress well. You understand what I'm saying? Smell good, be confident, know how to talk to women, know how to flirt, all these things. If you know how to do all of these things, that is going to make you way more attractive than a guy who just looks good. Because just because you look good, and I talk about this, I have a book called Looks Don't Matter, right? Everyone's like, oh my God, what are you talking about? That's crazy. How are you going to make a book like that, right?
Mm-hmm. I like the title though.
Right. So basically what I was saying in the book is that saying looks matter and saying looks don't matter are both right. You understand what I'm saying? Because in a certain situation, your looks can matter, which can help you. But then there's other situations where you can attract women that have nothing to do with how you physically look with your face and your body. You see what I'm saying? And so what a lot of guys don't realize is that a woman could think, and I break this down in the book. I said there's 5 types of attraction that a woman's going to have for you generally. It's physical attraction, sexual attraction, behavioral attraction, resource attraction, and friendship attraction. Now, what happens is some of these overlap. But what happens is a lot of guys confuse physical attraction with sexual attraction. So that literally means a woman can think you're handsome, think you're cute, and have no sexual attraction for you. So that means that she can literally look at you and say, you're a handsome guy, you're a good looking guy, but she doesn't feel any sexual attraction for you because you're not her type. She just doesn't really feel you. You understand? Or it could be something within your behavior that's causing her to not be sexually attracted to you. I always use the example of, like, I read this in a book too. If you're somebody who sees a beautiful home that they want to purchase, it looks good on the outside, but let's say they go on the inside, the toilet is all messed up, it stinks, there's crap all over the wall, it's like terrible inside. This person's going to be like, yo, it looked good on the outside, but I ain't messing with it. That's how women are sometimes in situations where a guy can look good, but his energy is off, which turns her off, even though at first she was attracted to him and even sometimes attracted to him sexually. And now she's like, nah, I'm good. You know what I'm saying?
I think that works both ways. A lot of times you and I are talking to guys that have no dating success.
Right.
But I think, you and I, when we meet a woman, we first look at her physically, but she can lose total points for us by acting a certain way. Or if a girl's like a smoker, like I won't date a girl who's a heavy smoker, or even like a mild one. Like I just not my thing. But personality, like bad personality or bad breath or something is like something's off. And most guys would like that have no success, or like I still want her because they just look at her. But I think you and I would have that same kind of reaction where a woman would, where like that girl's fine and I might have a night with her, but there's no way I'm dating that woman. She's a headache, or she's a smoker, or she has bad breath, or something's off about her.
Right.
And I'm just not interested. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there, where it's 2 parts. I got to be physically attracted, but then I got to take it to the next level with someone who actually I vibe with. And I think guys sell themselves short. They're always trying to be like, I vibe with, I got to get her to feel my vibe. And they don't really screen for what her vibe is, and they put up with her crap.
Exactly.
And they don't do that. So, but I think with looks, some guys, they have a certain look that women like, or this woman it doesn't like. But then some guys like don't have any kind of look at all. Like they always say that meme, like just get a haircut, bro. And it's a joke. But then how many guys do I meet that have a $5 haircut? I mean, I don't have any hair, so I'm not one to talk, but it's like they haven't even done the bare minimum. They dress like they're in the 1990s.
Right.
Like they talk about how it's a joke meme, but then they don't even do the bare minimum. So I think that plays a part. But it also depends on the guy. Sometimes I'll look at a guy and be like, bro, you don't need to looks max. You need to learn game.
Exactly.
And then this other guy, I'm like, bro, you really need to looks max first for 2 reasons. One, because you have no self-esteem. And so if you don't believe in yourself, it's going to be so much harder. If you think you're ugly, it's much harder to learn game. And then 2, you're at the bottom of the totem pole. You might be bald and overweight, and in your late 30s, you got to do something to compete, at least to get some kind of physical attraction going. But the reason I split game and looks is because guys use the looks maxing as a cope. Right. And I want to say you got to learn the other side, which is why I call it game. But I agree, it's all kind of under one umbrella. Right. We got a super chat, so I might as well throw this your way. How can game help a dude in his 40s?
I mean, I'm 41, so
Yeah,
you know,
average age with me is 40.
right?
So I'm 37, so we're getting up there.
Yeah, exactly. So it doesn't matter what age you are. It can help you just based off of what you're trying to do. This is why, I always try to explain to guys this. This is why a lot of guys get confused when it comes to game, because always tell people the game is about you. So what that means is that when you're learning game and you're understanding what game is, you realize that you're the center of it all. So a lot of guys think the game is about women, and that's where they mess up. And when they make it about women, that's when they actually lose women. That's when women are repelled by them. That's when they have a hard time getting girls, because they're not making a game about them. So what I mean, for example, is this, right? In this game of life, there are different types of games. So you can say, we talk about the dating game, right? Then you have the business game. You could have the fitness game. You could have the 9-to-5 game. You could have the entrepreneur game. There's so many different games. There's so many different levels, so many different things, right? Now, there's the cooking game, whatever. Let's say a person, let's say a guy, let's call him Steve. Let's say Steve watches a video with us two right here. So he's learning about dating. Then Steve goes and he watches a cooking channel. He's learning about cooking. He goes to a business channel. He's learning about business. He goes to a fitness channel. He's learning about fitness. In all these situations, the common denominator is Steve, because he's learning every single thing in all these different topics. So the game isn't about all those different things in particular. It's about him, because he's the one that has to learn all these things to benefit him. You see what I'm saying? So when a guy learns these things and he understands who he is and what he's about, then he understands what his identity is at that moment. Now, once you understand your identity and the type of person you are, then when you interact with women, you're able to lead and guide them into your world. And then so what happens is a woman is always going to be more attracted to a man who knows what he wants and what he's about, because now you're more decisive. You can lead, you can guide, because you know where you're going, because you know who you are. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And so once you do that, then you're able to interact with women in a way where they can see that you are that type of guy. The problem is, a lot of guys, when they think about game, they're thinking about, man, what's this pickup line I can say? What's the best thing I can do to get this girl to like me? Or how do I, get this girl to chase? And they're making it about the woman. Oh, I'm scared to go. That's the reason why a lot of guys are scared to approach women, because they're scared of the rejection, because they're worried about what the woman's going to think, what it's going to mean when the woman says this. You see what I mean? It's always about the woman. But they got to understand that it's about them, and then through themselves, that's when they're able to attract all those things. You see what I'm saying? That's what it is.
Yeah, it's interesting, because I'm actually writing a book, and my book is about that. It's not teaching the game in the book. It's teaching like how to think about the game, because I think there's two different like mindsets in manosphere or in the general community. It's either learn pickup and learn less techniques, strategies, lines, or it's work on myself independent of women, and then the women will come. And both are very flawed, right? You can hit the gym and get nowhere. You can get your money and get nowhere with women, or you can do in the pickup lines and you never develop yourself internally. You never learn the inner game, essentially, inner game versus outer game.
Right.
So I think for me, and that's what my book is about, is like in developing yourself as a man in relation to women, in terms of like going out and practicing, in terms of socializing, in terms of learning all the strategies, in terms of building up your own self-worth and self-esteem and your value to the women. In terms of building the whole picture, like going to the gym will make you feel good. You shouldn't only game. You should go to the gym because it's going to make you feel good as a man. You're going to feel healthier. And it's kind of like holistic, where you're building yourself up. And I think that people are like, I should go to the gym or I should spend all my time learning lines.
Right.
When it's literally, it's both. Like you learn the strategies, you interact with women, and you build yourself up a man. Exactly. You have plenty of time in your life. If you turn off your phone, and I'm bad about being on my phone, but honestly, most people spend their time consuming content on their phone. Consume our content and then go do it. Right. Don't just sit and watch YouTube videos all day. Because you turn off your phone, you have time to get money. You have time to hit the gym. You have time to approach.
That's fact.
Get your hours back to do the whole thing, instead of saying, oh, I only have time to go to the gym. I can't approach. I only have time to do this or that. I only have time to get money. No, you have time to do it all if you just get your time back. So I think that's part of it. Let me ask you this. I think this is a big problem, because I try and follow, all the dating coaches, just to like see what's out there and how people present themselves. And there's so few people giving. Okay, so there's there's self-improvement advice that has no practical application.
Mm,
Then there's dating coaches that don't know what they're talking about. They either came into the industry as fitness coaches and that didn't work out, or they came in and they're talking about stuff that they don't even know what they're talking about. They're not real coaches, or they barely coach any guys, they're YouTubers. And then there's very few real coaches. And how do guys know who's a real coach, who's not? How do they know which is good advice or not? Because I think when doing my channel or you doing yours, a lot of them might dismiss us out of hand because they took another YouTuber's advice,
mm,
got them nowhere, and they get very jaded. So a lot of the guys come and say game doesn't work. And I get why they say game doesn't work, because they're following advice from charlatans,
right.
groups that don't actually know game, and they claim to know game. So people are like, it doesn't work because 90% of the YouTubers that teach it wrong. So how do you feel about that?
Right. I think, well, one of the things that I always say this, you got to vet your coaches. You understand what I'm saying? Like I always tell people, like, don't even listen to what I'm saying just off the bat. You have to, vet what I'm saying too. You understand the meaning that you have to try out what the coaches are telling you. Now you're going to have different people saying different things a lot of times. Well, what's going to happen is that what really works, you understand what I'm saying, is going to come to light. And what happens is that I always say that I talk about best practices. So there's more than one way to skin a cat. So there's no one way to do things that is, like the only way, and this is the only way it's going to work. Now, what you have to figure out is, who do you resonate with as a coach too? Because if you really want to get help, you got to pick a coach, work with that coach alone. You understand? Like, you can listen to other people, but specifically work with that coach who resonates with you. Because if you try to work with 2 or 3 different coaches, it's always going to be some conflict or contradiction in certain terms. You understand? Or certain things they're saying, because each coach has their sort of like different way of doing things. Right now, the problem with that is that if you're getting coached by too many different coaches at once, you're going to get confused, because if your level of knowledge of the game isn't where it needs to be, which is why you're getting coaching, you're going to be confused about what to do. Now, what one coach is saying and what another coach is saying, it could be 2 different types of things they're saying, but they can both work if they're sort of both focusing on that man taking accountability for his situation. What will show you if a coach is BS is if he's always telling you about how messed up women are. If they're complaining about women, that's not a good coach. You understand what I'm saying? Because a good coach wouldn't complain about women, because a good coach would be the type of guy who's having the type of relationships and success with women that you're trying to get. You see what I'm saying? So you got to look out for that. If a guy's like, man, these women out here messed up, you got a lot of these girls, and man, they're going to take you for this, he's not the guy you need to be listening to. Because if he was actually having success, he would not be talking like that. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of guys, they gravitate to that type of stuff. But either way, the main thing you got to do is try out what they're saying, and not only try it out like, oh, I went out today and I talked to a few girls and they all rejected me, so it doesn't work. I'm not talking about that. You have to be consistent with it, and you have to stick with it for a while so that you can get immersed in it. And that's what a lot of guys don't do. They don't get immersed in a situation. So when I say, okay, you're going to go out and approach women, how about you go out and approach like 15, 20 girls, a day for the next 3 months? You understand what I'm saying? Like, can you do that? Because then that's when you actually see certain things happening. Because I always tell guys this: there's certain things that a coach cannot teach you that you can only teach yourself out in the field. Meaning there's certain things you're going to learn on your own about yourself while you're doing what you're doing. This is why when guys are like, yeah, just get your money up, looks max and gym max and all that other nonsense, and then talk to girls, you're always going to fail, because you actually need to talk to girls to get better at talking to girls, because you have to be in the real world situation of talking to girls to know how to get better at talking to girls. You see what I'm saying? But you're not going to know that unless you're there. So the thing is, the coach can guide you in that direction, but you have to be consistent and do it so that you can see the results for yourself. You feel what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah. And I totally agree with that. But I think it definitely comes back to that when someone goes on YouTube to watch stuff, they want to watch stuff that validates what their preconceived notions that women are bad and all that stuff. Those are the bigger channels. You probably thought I knew I'd bring this up, and I won't press you too hard. But with Fresh and Fit, right? You have a relationship with them. Maybe you can talk about how you connected with them. You've been on their show, and I think there's benefits to being on their show and like educating the guys. But at the same time, their platform is based around either yelling at women or like blaming them for stuff. The red pill knowledge is very toxic because, again, that's why I'm Coach White Pill, is like, what are you going to do about that? It's not that the red pill isn't true. Some's true, some's not. But what are you going to do about that? Are you going to sit there and complain, or are you going to actually go and do stuff? That's why I came out with the white pills. Black pills give up. Red pills, like, here's women's problem. The world is problems with women, or how their female nature, hypergamy. But then what are you going to do about it? White pills, get out and look smacks, get out and, get your money or get your game or whatever. You improve yourself somehow.
Right.
So how do you reconcile that with your relationship with them and being on their platform? Because they are that kind of big platform that got big off of essentially blaming women for a lot of the, the issues.
Yeah. Shout out to Fresh and Fit. So Fresh and Fit came to me. They hit me and my dude Miles up a while ago. So we actually had a show that we was doing a while ago. And then what Fresh and Fit did was basically, put their own podcast together, get everything together, and then they made this their whole show exactly what it is today. So now the thing with Fresh and Fit is that Fresh and Fit a lot of times caters to more of the younger crowd who are in that red pill rage type of energy. You see what I'm saying? Now, the thing that I always tell guys is this, and this goes for you just understanding game and understanding yourself and understanding others, right? You have to understand that people are at different levels of the game, because even when I first started talking to Myron, I remember he would tell me that, he was like, I would go out for, and holler at like 40 women and get like one girl. So when he told me that, I was like, okay, I know that he knows what it takes to actually put yourself out there and do it. You understand what I'm saying? But the problem is that there's a lot of guys out there that aren't really at that level to even understand that. So what happens is that Fresh and Fit are relating to those guys who aren't even at that level yet. You see what I'm saying? So sometimes what happens is they have a saying called "put the pill in the dog food." So what that means is that you want the dog, the dog to take the pill, so you put in the dog food, so the dog will eat the food and it'll take the pill, right? So what happens is that what Fresh and Fit are doing, from what I'm seeing, is that they're able to garner this attention from all of these guys who have this quote unquote red pill rage, and then slip in other things that are their own talking patterns, but also, or their thought process, but also the stuff that they're gravitating to now to get their attention. You see what I'm saying? So that's also part of the game too, is to be able to bait in order to get the attention so that you can also spread whatever type of thing you want to spread. Now, with that being said, understand every guy is at a different level of the game. So, for example, as much game that Myron or Fresh has when it comes to dealing with women, they're not at the same level of game as me when it comes to dealing with women. Now, on the flip side, Myron and Fresh, I am not at the same level of game as them when it comes to social media. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Sure, but I think this is one of the issues. So I think that, yes, the younger crowd, but at some point when you're reinforcing their preconceived notions that women are bad or this problem, and they get afraid of them, and they see him as an enemy,
right?
It becomes harder to unwind that. The hardest guys for me to convert to actually learning game are the red pillar guys, because they're so deep in it. And at some point that reinforcement doesn't help them. So if you're sliding in there to give them a wake-up call, that's one thing, but they're not the best messenger if they're not good at game or they're not good at teaching it. So I think, there is something to be said for like the kickouts and stuff, got them a lot of attention. It was like basically a drama show that brings a lot of eyeballs. But at what point does it hurt more than help? Because let me put it to you this way. I think if you were reaching younger guys, if you put together that type of show, it might get somewhat less viewership, but it could do really well if you're challenging the women from a place of like, you're not yelling at them, kicking them out. You're not blaming them. You're just like taking it to them. Like, hey, explain this. Explain why you're treating this guy this way. Explain why you're on OnlyFans with a boyfriend or something. Like, give it to me real in a calm manner. That's gonna get, instead of 100,000 views, and maybe it gets 70,000 views a video, but it does pretty well because you have the women on and you're challenging them. Like, the guys want you to call these women out. But I think it comes from a different place with someone who has really good game and is really solid in their, older, you're more mature as just by age, we mature, and we're almost 40. We're not into that stuff anymore, the drama or whatever. But if we're the ones challenging those women, it's a much healthier place in terms of even just how you interact with the women. Like if you were, I don't know, I don't remember how you were on the show or if you were on their after hours show. I didn't get to watch that, but basically, if you're challenging them from a much more mature standpoint, it gets a few less eyeballs, but it's still going to be the same kind of like, oh, this guy's not letting her get away with it, but he's calm and confident and collected and like, you know, whatever alpha masculinity males, they don't need to yell. They don't need to kick people out. They don't need to scream. They just kind of calmly take people on task. They tell them what's up and they don't sugarcoat it. So I wonder like, where's the middle ground here? Cause I see that if they go too far down the rabbit hole, pulling them out becomes much harder. So that's a long question, but
right. No, I get what you're saying. The thing you got to understand though is that Myron and Fresh, right? They're not dating coaches. You see what I'm saying? So
no, but I mean that's the problem. That's what I was getting.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So they're not dating coaches. So that's what people got to understand. So they're not dating coaches. They do a podcast. So what happens is that they're talking about talking points, right? From some of the like red pill stuff and all that other stuff, but it's not the same as if I was to do it because I'm a dating coach. So it's two different things. That's one. But two, you got to understand that how do I say this? Because I wanted to be very clear, right? What people have to understand is, and this is why I said game encompasses everything, right? So when you see Myron throwing a chick out, right? Part of that is because the chick is, you know, acting kind of funny style. He's like, yo, I don't want you in my hair, so I'm gonna throw you out, right? But two is that it's because that's part of the show. So so what happens is that the reason why Fresh and Fit got so big is because they leaned into that.
Oh, of course.
Because that's part of their brand. So my brand isn't necessarily that, but their brand is. So what happens is that a lot of people will say, well, you know, Fresh and Fit should try to be like this, or this person should try to be like that. But it's like you have to understand the two different brands. And so part of that branding is part of the game that gets the money rolling, the information out there, and the views. You see what I'm saying?
At what point does entertainment become detrimental to the guys? Is what I'm saying. So I agree with you that like I just think that sometimes there's a middle ground that needs to be found, because at one point the guys don't realize that it's entertainment. When you're getting entertained, you're absorbing that, and sometimes you internalize that as the reality, and you don't realize, like a reality shows, a lot of people don't realize that's all planned out, that's set up. Right, it's supposed to feel natural. It's supposed to. If they got on there and be like, "Yeah, we planned this kick out before the show," nobody would watch that. Right? They'd be like, "Oh, this was all fake." Right. And that's why, like, people like drama more when it feels real.
But it is real. That's what I'm saying. And this what I want you to also to notice. What's interesting is when I was on the show with them, right? I did 2 shows, I think, or no, 3 shows when I was out there in Miami last month, right? So combined, I remember when I was on one of the shows when we had the girls on, it was like 12,000 people watching, right? When I was on the other show, it got like 50,000 views, and another show got 130,000, and then the replay of the first show I was on got like over 350,000. So let's add all that, about like 500,000 views, right? Now, out of 500,000 views, right? When I checked my subscriber count, I got less than 1,000 subscribers out of that. Now, which I'm grateful for every subscriber, but I got less than 1,000 subscribers. So I say that to say this: it's because I see what your argument where you're saying, well, you know, people that it's entertainment, but they're gonna like have some sort of, they're gonna get brainwashed or feel a certain type of way. What most people do is they want what they're watching. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Sure.
So if they wanted actual more game, they would come over and check out my stuff too. But only a fraction of of those people did that. You see what I'm saying? Because the truth about it is this: most people don't really, and this is what we saw about at the beginning. Most people don't want to learn; they want to be entertained. And so, Fresh and Fit and Myron and Fresh was smart enough to know that. You see what I'm saying? They know this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's why.
Well, I don't fault them for that. It's just like if you're watching an entertainment, sports or something, it's not influencing your personal life in the same way. And so, yeah, I know I see your point, but yeah, it's super unfortunate that guys would rather just
Because you also
get,
got to look at the audience. You also got to look at the
yeah.
audience of people who are watching, because you have to say to yourself, okay, look, we have this information here that is because what I do is I call it edutainment, where it's educational, but it's entertainment. You see what I'm saying? So if they don't want to be educated, that's on them. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Well,
you gotta,
I just think I think there's a middle ground. Eventually, maybe that becomes something where it is like a entertainment show, but under the guise of someone who knows what they're doing in terms of dating coaching, right? In terms of how to deal with those women. And so instead of like talking about it, you're just carrying yourself a different way in that environment. You're still doing call outs. It's not going to go super viral the same way. That's just, you know, the internet's too far gone for that.
Right.
But I think there's a middle ground where that show becomes something that's more popular than just like game facts, and a little bit less popular than just like Jerry Springer type kickouts and drama and all that stuff. So I think that, you know, plays a part, but I'm glad, you know, I got that answer from you. It's just interesting because, yeah, I definitely were, you know, kind of crapping on them for a while. And
yeah, that's what it's funny, because a lot of people, what's interesting is a lot of people see when I look at things, I look at things also, I look at things in two ways. I look at things from what I'm presented on, from like a outsider's perspective, meaning I'm watching it on YouTube or whatever. And then I also look at things from an insider perspective, meaning like actually meeting the person, seeing how they are in real life, seeing what they're actually doing. And so with Fresh and Fit has done something that probably no other YouTuber has ever done. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
That they've done it, because even in their studio, the whole studio is like 14 different cameras, different angles. They have staff, all this. So it's like,
they did a great job.
So
I never got on them for their production or their marketing. They're very talented at that. But I think it's interesting the way YouTube works, and with beefs and stuff. It's like, you know, what I asked you, you don't have to tell me who, but like when you talk to different creators and stuff, is it different behind the scenes? Do some of them take it personally and serious? Because it's like, are you allowed, you know, you're like, you'll talk to anyone, like you don't care who's on whose side. But I wonder if like someone's like, oh man, that person shit on me, like I don't want you talking to them, Mr. Locario. Like, do you ever get into the middle of that, or do people just like not care, or they're cool with you as long as you're cool with them?
No, the thing is, you know, when see, a lot of times people get into that back and forth shit and all that other stuff. My thing is this: I never got into this to be like on some clicky type of stuff. And no, I'm literally here to do what I'm supposed to do. And so I'm not saying like, if like, let's say, for example, somebody was like, man, Locario, I don't like Coach Whitepill. Why are you going on his show? I'll be like, well, that's on you. I don't give a fuck if you don't like Coach Whitepill. I like Coach Whitepill, so I'm going on the show. You understand what I'm saying? So I have no ties to anybody who doesn't like this person or that person. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not going to do something. And also, if I don't like a person, I'm not going to hold you. And it's like, if I didn't like somebody, I'm not gonna be like, Coach Whitepill, why are you doing the thing with so-and-so? Like, I don't think.
You just won't talk about it.
Right. It's like, do whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? Now I would do a thing where if I wouldn't necessarily be on a same show necessarily with someone that I have an issue with, that's one thing, but I'm not going to necessarily feel some type of way about, you know what I'm saying? Like another person working with another person or whatever it is like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that's key, is to just like, because there's so much negativity, to put out a positive message. Unfortunately, negativity works online, but I think when I do it, I try and do it from a point of like advice, right? Like whenever I critique someone, I try not to go after the person at all. Cause it's just like, if I think they're talking crap, I'm going to talk crap about what they're saying. I don't want to go after the person. So I think if you are going to go negative, like I do sometimes, I'm not saying I don't, but I think it's important to critique the advice, not the person.
Right. Exactly.
Because you know, I've gone through some drama online that I didn't want to go through. And like, the whole thing was like, come after me for my advice, come after me for that, but don't come after me personally, because I think that's like, we're all here to work hard and help guys do their thing. And that's really what we want to accomplish. So I think that's kind of like, it's cool that I'm glad to hear no one gave you crap about any of the stuff behind the scenes, or you don't care, which is even better.
No, it's whatever, because my thing is this, man, is like, you know, I've been putting in work for years. So what happens is there's a lot of people who, you know, they're on here to start drama, to to do anything. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, like, look, if that's your thing, cool. I ain't got no problem with that. But what happens is that I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to change who I am and interact in a certain way because everybody else is doing it. You see what I'm saying? I'm not going to now not like this person because you don't like this person. So everything I do or don't do is literally because I make a decision to do it or not do it, period.
Yeah,
and
that's
right.
Because
Because I've had a lot of people, like, even when I went to Miami, you know, it was like, oh, I don't understand. How are you like, you know, cool with this guy and that guy and blah, blah, blah. Cause I'm like, I'm me. I could be cool with whoever I want. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I can be cool with whoever I want. You understand? I'm my own man. And that's what I teach. I teach men to be who they are and not move based off of what everybody else is telling you to do or what you should be doing or how you should be doing it or the way that you need to be doing it. It's like, how do you want to live your life and live it that way and be that guy? That's it.
Yeah. I think part of the problem too is, like, with all this image-based, you know, online stuff, is like trashing someone because they talk to so and so, whatever. Is like, I may have critiqued you when you went, you know, you were friends with Fresh and Fit, but I never I never thought any less of you. I never trash talk you because I do think you're one of the best in the game at teaching it. So why would I do that? Even if I'm just going to critique that you're friends with them or you're going on their show, I can critique that without going after anything that you do as a creator, as a coach. So I think we have to, like, separate the two, the action versus, you know, everything else. I want to move on to something else that I find interesting that is tricky in our industry, because who's legit, who's not, you know, what's fake, what's not, in terms of, like, proving our abilities as dating coaches. Because I get all the time asked for receipts and in-field footage. So I want to talk about those two different things because I feel very differently about them. In-field footage I've been socialized. I was a pickup artist, but I was a natural first. So I had a lot of social awareness in college. I understand social dynamics. And in-field footage to me is so creepy. I did the banana thing. That was a prank and a joke. And some people thought I was serious. I'm not doing that again because no one, like, they took that seriously. I'm like, guys, it was fun. But as far as hidden camera infield footage, to me, it's creepy. I can't even walk up to a woman with a microphone on and have a natural interaction. If the guys want to watch that, knowing I'm mic'd up and there's a camera guy, I can't even run my game properly.
Right, exactly.
I feel awkward as hell doing something super creepy and deceptive to her when she doesn't know. And they're like, tell her after. I'm like, tell her after. There's a video of a guy doing that. Telling her after, she looks creeped the F out. She looks freaked out when he said that he was filming her for, like, pickup stuff, and it wasn't some kind of joke or prank or whatever, where it was fun. You know, I tell girls I'm filming, you know, I have the banana thing on it. I go and say, hey, I'm filming the hidden camera. They're like, oh yeah, of course you are. You're wearing a banana suit. Well, yeah, that makes more sense than just a guy walking around as a banana. So what do you think about when do guys ask you for infield footage? I don't know if you've done any. How do you feel about all that?
Yeah, it's the most ridiculous shit. I'm gonna tell you why. So what guys don't understand is this, right? Men who don't have game don't understand things about guys who do have game and why they do what they do, right? So I'll give you an example. Think about someone who's really rich, right? And you know, you hear this all the time. A poor person will say, man, why does that rich guy gotta buy 6 boats or this private jet, right? But because you're poor, you didn't know that they bought the private jet and all those things as a tax write-off. You understand? Because they have so much money, they gotta spend that money as a tax write-off on their business. You're thinking, oh, they're just showing off and they're just these rich assholes, right? But because you're poor, right, you don't understand that. So it's the same thing when it comes to game and with these infield receipts and all this other stuff. What guys don't understand is this. A guy with game understands about how important it is to be discreet. You understand what I'm saying? And so discretion is very important in the game because some of the women that you're dealing with are women who have certain types of jobs, are in certain types of relationships, and they don't want their business out in the street. So what happens is that when you're a dating coach and you're interacting with another human being, which is a woman, right? She's not just some object that you're showing.
Exactly.
So what happens is that you have to be very careful about that. Now check this out. Let's say I do an infield footage of me approaching a woman and getting at her, and I do some crazy stuff and I'm grabbing her butt and I do like a bunch of nonsense. Now, think about this. For anybody in the chat, What if that was your mom? What if that was your sister? How would you feel about Mr. Locario with his tongue down your sister's mouth or your mom's mouth? You see what I'm saying? So dudes don't think about it until it affects them personally. You see what I'm saying? And this is why discretion is important. Now, I do have a video on YouTube right now called Mr. Locario Finally Shows His Receipts. Right now, what I showed in that video was I showed pictures and video of me with women. All the faces are blanked out. But basically what I was saying in that video was to basically show how stupid it is to worry about receipts. Because in the video I was talking about, so I had, for example, I had a picture of me talking to a girl, right? And her face is blurred out. So I said in the video, how do you know that this picture isn't orchestrated? How do you know that this isn't a girl I paid to stand there and me take a picture? How do you know that this isn't my wife? You understand? Because I never showed my wife. So you don't know all these things. So unless you're with me live in person, seeing me interacting with women, you don't know. You see what I'm saying?
I think that's part of the problem too, is one, a lot of it's faked. And when it's not, the faces are blurred and we judge women by their faces first in terms of how good looking they are. So how do you know any of these women are attractive? It can all be fake. So it can be fake from start to finish. You could take a picture with a girl who's either paid or a friend and you never hooked up with her. You can, you could even have footage of them hooking up and you would not know if he paid her as an escort. Right? So there's no real way to prove it. And then when they do, they talk about all this time infield. The faces are blurred. How do you know I'm not just finding the least attractive woman on the street to find to talk to? Yes, she has a decent body, but there's millions of women who are not attractive in the face with halfway decent bodies. And in the West, a lot of times these footage they're not even the best bodies that, gym bodies. So it's like, so actually in my videos, I did show their faces because I want to show I'm hanging out with good looking women. But I showed it in classy photos that I took for my Instagram. If if a guy finds my Instagram, all these same photos are up there. So I'm not doing stuff that's not already on my social media. I just put it in my YouTube to show that I am hanging out with good looking women. But again, how do I prove that I'm dating them or hooking up with them? I don't, and I'm never going to, because there's no way to do that. So yes, I understand that it's good to show that we're hanging out with good looking women. I understand that. I understand they don't want us to be like, have nothing. And that's, for my content moving forward, that's part of my plan, but I don't want to exploit them. And if I'm paying them, if they're doing an interview or something and they want to be paid for that, like if a guy asks me for an interview too, and then I might pay him for that. And so it's like, or women that I'm hanging out with, I don't want to exploit them just to make money off them. And so I think that that's a really tricky thing in our industry, whereas like you can buy a nice car and you can use the car. You can exploit the car to sell a how to make money program. I got a Bugatti. Here, check it out. Watch me race it around. Now give me money because I'm going to teach you how to buy a Bugatti. You can use the object part of your marketing, but when women are the goal is to date beautiful women, you end up in this weird conundrum of having to show them off as part of your marketing and objectify them. So I think they do have a point of wanting to see me with more women, and that's my goal, is to bring them on the channel. But I want to interview them. I want to bring them on, show that I hang out with them, I have a good time with them. But I'm not going to prove which ones I'm hooking up with and which ones I'm not. I'm just going to teach you guys, at the very least, how to socialize with attractive women.
Well, so the thing is, I actually see, my thing is, I don't even believe in all that. I don't even believe in necessarily having to prove it to them, because my thing is this: you're coming to me for coaching. So the fact that you're even asking for a receipt is the reason why you're having a hard time with women anyway, because you need a receipt because you don't believe a man can get a woman. That's your, and because you don't believe a man can get a woman, that's why you don't have a woman. Now, what's interesting about this is that I've said on multiple times, right, that in my videos that I'm non-monogamous. I have a wife and a girlfriend, right? I always wear this ring. This ring never comes off. And if guys are paying attention, this is how you know guys aren't actually paying attention, because this is why I said, the game is happening all the time. On my live streams, my girlfriend is in the chat damn near every live stream. And sometimes I do live streams with my girlfriend. You see what I'm saying? So it's already like I'm already showing you that I'm living the life there. I have the ring on my finger,
Well,
and I'm
yeah.
right. So
That's what I'm getting at.
right, but I'm not doing it necessarily to prove it to them. I'm doing it because that's what I do in my life. You see what I'm saying? I'm just being a man, being who I am. So a lot of these dudes out there, I'm not going to prove it to some goofy dudes on the internet that's out here. They ain't got no game. They're going overseas, having sex with prostitutes and doing all this other stuff. Those type of guys, why would I even bother? That doesn't make any sense. And so what I'm saying is that guys who understand game and peep game, this is why this is where I teach guys, is to not look at the surface. My dude Steve Dedeen, he always calls guys surface dwellers, and that's what most guys are. They dwell on the surface so they don't actually see the game unfolding and happening before their eyes. This is why I was saying, even with Fresh and Fit, like even this camera you're looking at me right now, this equipment I have, all of this came because Myron taught me all this stuff. My setup was not this crispy until I met him. That's what I'm saying, where they have that game that understands how to make this look how it looks. So game is happening all around. You see what I'm saying? And so what a lot of dudes don't pick up on is they're looking at goofy stuff. Like for example, and this is the stupid part, Coach White Pill. This is what they're going to say to you. You could bring a girl on, they're going to be like, oh, like if she's slim, she's too skinny. If she's thick, she's too fat. If she's tall, she's too tall. If she's short, she's too short. If she's old, she's too old. If she's young, no matter what you do, they're going to say some goofy ass stuff. You see what I'm saying? So it doesn't even matter at this point to even bother, because a lot of these guys who's talking all that stuff, they're just projecting and talking all that stuff because they're not where they want to be, which is why they have to be on some nonsense about all of this receipt stuff. And I got to do it. And I'm like, bro, who are you? I don't need to show you this stuff. You don't need to know about none of this stuff. Now, this is the funny part. When I have with my coaching clients, sometimes I do show them certain things that I'm doing privately. Like I would show a friend, like if we got off the line and I was like I'll send you a text and be like, yo, check this girl out, whatever. I'll do that with you because we're at that same level. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But most of these guys out here, please. Nah.
Yeah, but I think like, just you showing your life, because again, like a lot of these guys, when they're paying money, they're buying into the life, just like they do with the lifestyle. So I think it is a mix, but I do think there's benefits, like you said, like you're just living that life, but sharing that life does help the perception that you are legit. And I think that, I think that contributes. You mentioned marriage. So I think this is an interesting topic that I don't have experience in. I've never been married. You talk about open marriage, things like that. Maybe you can talk to my guys about two things. One, like, should they get married? And then the legal side of it. And because a lot of guys, are worried about the legal side of it. Not to mention just the dating side of it. So maybe give us, your breakdown on marriage in general, and then open marriages as well.
Well, the thing is with marriage, the reason why so many guys are scared to get married and all that, they worry about like if we get divorced, it's gonna take half my stuff and child support and alimony and all that other stuff, right? Usually what happens is this, right? The reason why guys have issues with marriage and even long-term relationships or any of those things is because they do not know how to vet a woman and create the type of relationship they want. So what a lot of guys, and that stems from them not knowing themselves. So what happens is most guys will get into a marriage knowing, not guessing, not wondering, knowing that they still want to have sex with other women, right? So now what you're doing is you're setting yourself up for failure, right? Now, if you want to be in a monogamous marriage, you can say, hey, listen, the woman who's going to be your wife, you tell her, hey, listen, I love you, I want to be with you, but in order for us to get married, there's a few things that needs to happen, right? And then one of those things you can tell her is, hey, I'm going to be with you, but from time to time, I might have sex with other women, if that's the case, right? So you tell her, so you're not going to cheat on her, but you're telling her so she know this goes down. If she agrees, then y'all get married, and now you have a wife who is actually about what you're about. Now, the problem is that a lot of guys don't vet women for a significant amount of time. So this is why guys say, but she switched up on me. Women don't switch up. Women are just how they were. And then that's what happened. You just ended up basically marrying a chick who wasn't about nothing and who wasn't about you. And that's why you messed up. So a lot of these guys, especially in the red pill, they'd be like, man, this woman's going to take me for my stuff and her hypergamous nature and all that other stuff. No. See, the reason why my marriage worked so well is because when me and my wife first got together and we was just dating and hooking up or whatever, and eventually at some point she wanted to be my girl or whatever, and then when I put her in the position of girlfriend, I told her, I said, listen, you could be my girl, but the only way you're going to be my girl is that we have to keep this open, right? And so she agreed to that, right? So now we've been together for 15 years. So the reason why I wanted to keep it open is because that's how I like to do my relationship. So I don't teach guys necessarily be an open relationship. I teach guys to find out the type of relationship you want and then relay that to the woman and then have her agree to that. But you also have to do a vetting process to see if she's going to be consistent with what she's saying she's agreeing to. You see what I'm saying? And then therefore you eliminate a lot of the drama, nonsense, and all that other stuff. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So now what about, that's an interesting thing. Like, what about that conversation where you wanted an open marriage? You know, how many women are actually going to go along with that? Did you find a unicorn? What was that conversation like, right? Was she, you know, because a lot of women would be like, I really love you, but I want monogamy, strict monogamy. And I'm going to go find another man that'll give me that. So I think that's a question for a lot of guys. Question for me too is like, you know, as much as I want, you know, those serious relations. I mean, I move around too much right now for that, but once I settle down, you know, I may be interested more in that, but then finding the woman that's okay with that, is it a conversation that a lot of women would be open to if you did the conversation right? Or is it only a small percentage of women that would accept that?
No, the thing is the woman's going to accept it if she is accepting of you, meaning like if she's about your program. So basically if the woman is submissive, then she's going to accept it. Because when you break down the word submissive, sub means under, and missive, mission, submission, under the mission. So if my mission is I want a relationship like this, and she is attached to me in that way, that's going to make her be about it. So what happens is when I tell guys about the vetting process, right? I usually tell guys, don't make a woman your girlfriend until you've been with her for at least 12 to 18 months. So within those 12 to 18 months, you're vetting her. So that means she has to be consistent with whatever you're trying to do for those 12 to 18 months before you even say you're my girlfriend. Now, what happens is that a woman's investment causes her to become attached, which causes her to fall in love, which causes her to want to be with you. So now what happens is that she ends up going with your program because she's being about your mission. She's submissive now to your situation because she's been so consistent with you for all this time. So now she's going with it, not necessarily because it's just about you. She's going with it because she wants you so bad that you become what she wants. Therefore, she's doing what she wants anyway. So I always tell guys, you're not trying to change a girl. You're not trying to force her to do nothing. She's doing exactly what she wants, and exactly what she wants is you, which is why she's following your lead. So a lot of guys, the problem is they say, well, the woman's not going to go for that. No, the woman is going to go for what she desires, and what she desires is you. You see what I'm saying? But you have to be the type of man that's desirable. And the way you be the type of man that's desirable is you be the type of guy who understands who he is, understands his identity, understands exactly what he wants, and then he brings women along who want that thing. So now if I'm dealing with a girl and she says, you know what? I don't, let's say I say, listen, we're going to be in this open situation. She says, but I want to be monogamous. I'm like, well, listen, I support you, but we can't be together. Go find your monogamous man. You see what I'm saying? I'm ready to let you go whenever like that. And so what happens is that when she realizes that and recognizes that, she's like, damn, well, I want this guy so bad that I'm about whatever he's about. For example, when I was my girlfriend now, when we first got together, I already had a girlfriend. So it was my wife and my girlfriend, and then my girlfriend who I have now, who's my actual girlfriend now. So my girlfriend who at the time, who I was with, we had broke up like maybe a few months later. But the girl who's my girlfriend now, she was with me while I had a wife and a girlfriend. And she still wanted to, she was like, I'm down. Now, the reason why she was down was because she was about me. And so women are going to do what they're going to be about you when they're really, really about you. And so a lot of guys, the problem is that they ask the wrong question. They're like, well, what do I do if she doesn't want to do it? Well, she doesn't want to do it because you're not that guy. When you are that guy, she will do it. Just like, for example, I might meet a girl named Tiffany. I might have sex with Tiffany tonight. Tiffany's going to meet another guy named Bob. She's going to make Bob take her out on 3-4 dates, wine and dine her before he gets any. You see what I'm saying? So based off the guy, she's going to do what she feels she wants to do. You
Okay.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's an interesting way to put it, and I think a lot of guys, you have to get to that level of game where they want to do that.
Mhm.
Um, I forgot. I was going to ask a question on that. Is there any other things you want to cover? Any other wisdom you want to impart
Um,
to the guys?
I mean, I just want guys to understand that, they can have the type of relationship that they want when it comes to, dealing with women. And dealing with women is not difficult. I think a lot of guys think that it's difficult, it's this hard thing to do, and it's impossible, and I can't get what I want. The hardest thing the hardest thing to do necessarily is work on yourself, like for real.
Mhm.
And it's the funny part. The quicker that you accept who you really are, the easier it's going to be to fully embrace that and become that man. And then that's when you're going to be your most attractive. This is what a lot of guys don't get. Most guys, they don't know who they are, so therefore the woman that they deal with or the women that they try to get, they can't see the guy that he is. This is why nice guys don't get any play, because the nice guy is not the real guy. It's the facade. So she's like, who is this guy really? I'm not feeling him, so I can't really get with him. You understand what I'm saying? I'm having there's resistance there. Now, if I'm fully myself and I'm being honest and I'm being authentic, that's when women gravitate. This is why I could have 3-4 women and still hook up and date with a bunch of women, and all of them are just good with it. Because they're like this, they're like, Miss Locario is being who he is. I know what I'm getting. I understand who he is, and I trust in who he is. And the reason why they do that is because they see that I know who I am. So a lot of these dudes out here, unfortunately, they're so busy gym maxing and looks maxing, they're not actually tapping into who they really are. Like, who is the person behind all the surface? You see what I'm saying?
Got it. Now, let me ask you this, because I think with open relationships, it depends on the person, but do they have interaction between each other? Is it more out of sight, out of mind? Like you're very transparent and honest with them verbally, but do they prefer to not know and like keep everything separate, or do they have interactions with each other? How does that work out?
Right. It depends, because some people, like in my situation, so my wife and my girlfriend like to know like certain things. Like they were like, oh, did you go out on a date? Blah, blah, blah. They like details. You understand what I'm saying? Some women don't care for details. You see what I mean? So it's just about understanding who you're with, understanding that dynamic. You see what I'm saying?
Do they have any face-to-face interaction with each other?
Yeah, my wife and girlfriend, they've hung out a few times. They went to get drinks, chilled, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so they know each other, they know about each other. When I go out to like a date, like if I like was it 2 weeks ago or something, I was out on a date with this girl, and I was like with my girlfriend earlier that day. So my girlfriend knew I was going to see another girl. So it's like, it's super easy and smooth because I set it up that way. And I set it up that way because I'm already setting myself up to be the man I want to be. And then they just follow. That's like, women just want a strong man to follow. The problem is a lot of dudes is weak. That's why they lie to women. That's why they pretend to be something they're not. That's why they fly overseas to get vagina. You understand what I'm saying? It's because they can't actually stand on who they are to be that attractive guy that want to make something happen. You see what I mean?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think, because it's kind of next level where guys are so far removed from that. They're just trying to get one girl. And that's why, it's kind of like one of the problems, all the pedestaling, like they're putting the women on the pedestal and they're like trying to get her, and like, instead of leveling up themselves.
Right.
And they don't really understand that process is part of the problem. So it's really hard to get out of the mindset. It's like chicken or the egg. It's like once you have that abundance, whatever, then it works better. But how do you get that abundance without having it? You almost have to fake it till you make it, in a way where you just get into your mindset of like, I'm on me, I'm on my purpose, I'm going to improve. But again, guys take that the wrong way to doing everything except talking to women.
Right.
Whereas on your...
Well, I was going to say,
go ahead.
It's not necessarily even faking it till you making it. It's more so like, see, you know what it is? The problem is if guys have an understanding of the game fully, then they'll understand what needs to happen and what occurs. So, okay, I'll give you an example, right? Let's say you have a guy, right? Random dude. he's going out and approaching women, right? Let's say he approaches 10 girls, all of them reject him. As a matter of fact, half of them harshly reject him, like they curse him out or they just mean as shit. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Now, because he doesn't understand the game, he's probably going to be pissed off, upset, angry, frustrated, right? He's gonna be like, man, I talked to 10 girls and none of them, they were being and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, really? You only talked to 10? You understand? I'm like, sometimes you might need to talk to 20, 25 to even get one girl to really respond to you the way you need to respond. Now, because he didn't know that, that's why he's so upset and frustrated, because his knowledge base on what's going on in the situation, right, is going to get him frustrated. It's just like for a person trying to build a business. Somebody might be like, man, I've been doing this business for 6 months and I'm not making any money. And I'm like, well, most businesses got to, like grind for years before they see any real money. But if you don't know that, you're going to be judging yourself based off of that situation because you don't understand the game. So it's the same type of thing. So a lot of times what happens is that when we talk about the abundance mindset, it's really just the mindset. So the thing is, you don't actually have to have tangible abundance, but you have to have the mindset of abundance, because what a lot of guys don't know, and I don't want to get too deep on this, is that because you're in relation to everything else in the world, the abundance is already there, meaning that think about the craziness of a guy saying, I can't get a girl, like I can't attract a woman, when there's so many women out there. You understand what I'm saying? So if you can't attract a woman, what is going on with you where you can't attract this abundance of women out here? Not even one? You understand what I'm saying? Like, you don't know what to do to get even one. Now, you might need to approach 25 to get the one, but knowing that, having that knowledge is going to get you to the one, because you have the knowledge of how to use the situation to your advantage to get to the one. But the fact is that there's so many out there, the abundance is there, but you have to have the abundance mindset first to be able to go out there and take your feet and go move on the pavement to go and approach the 25 girls. You see what I'm saying? So the problem is that guys have this scarcity mindset, or guys have this mindset of being a defeatist, like all these black pill dudes. So yo, it's over, bro. You're a sub-5 and all that stupid shit, right? Like, I know you see those things. So when they have that mindset, they're never going to get to the point where they're actually attracting women, because they're getting exactly who they are, which is a negative, needy, goofy, insecure little dude. You understand what I'm saying? So of course no woman's going to want you. So you have to choose that, and then you'll actually attract something different. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think, what I meant fake it till you make it was that mindset is just like, to be successful at something, you got to believe that you can.
Right.
But if you've never been successful, you have no evidence that you can. So it's like kind of baby steps. You get, maybe you get one girl, and then you got to put in your mind that you can do it again and again and again. But if you're a virgin, you've never had that reference experience to know you can do it. So it's a bigger leap. It's almost like a leap of faith, where you're like, hey, I'm going to figure this out. I can get out there. I'm going to put myself out there and just take my shots, even though I don't even know if it's going to work. And so I think that, what I talk about a lot is like, sometimes just take your shots. You don't know if it's going to work or not. You just got to take them and see what happens. And that's more the fake it till you make it, is you can't think of abundance other than just like, well, they're out there. I'm going to try. And I don't know whether it's going to work or not, but I'm not just going to sit here and whine about it and complain, because if I don't do anything, I'm definitely not getting any women.
Right. Exactly. Right.
So right. I think that definitely plays a part. Let's talk about rejection a little bit, because I think guys are so terrified of that. One thing I talk about too, when guys are approaching, they're often more worried about people watching them get rejected than they are just getting rejected. If it was in a room by themselves, they're worried about people seeing them and the shame and embarrassment that comes with that. But I also talk about it too. It's kind of like playing a video game. You never met this girl. You're never going to see her again. When you're playing a video game and your character dies, do you start crying? No, you just hit the reset button and play the level again. It's very similar to that, because there's no impact on your life if a woman just says no. Like, how does that, how do you feel about that? What do you tell guys? Because what I always tell them is, think of it like a video game. You're never going to see the girl again if you do a cold approach. Right. No impact on your life. And it's just like a video game. If she says no, then you hit the reset button and you approach the next one. So
right, exactly. And that, the problem with that, again, like I was saying earlier, is that they're looking for validation through an approach. So the thing is, they want the girl to say yes or give them a number, not just because they want the number. The deeper issue is that they want to feel loved. That's really what the problem is. These guys, unfortunately, they're looking for validation and love through interactions with women instead of just having interactions with women for the purpose of dealing with the woman. So that's why they're so scared of rejection, because the rejection means to them, man, I must not be good looking, or I must not be the type of guy that women want. I must not be. And so they're taking it too personally instead of looking at it as that's part of the game. Like this, like women are supposed to reject you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's going to happen. It's really going to happen.
I think unfortunately, a lot of guys get their self-esteem and self-worth from the amount of validation they get from women. Like, right. I think it's a crazy high percentage that if they're not getting validated by women, but then they don't feel any kind of self-esteem, self-worth, or validation from themselves. Right. And they also run to the other problem. I've had guys that were good-looking guys or that were successful with women, and they were still desperate and needy for the women just because of the validation that they didn't feel for themselves. Exactly. So even when they had a lot of women wanting them, they would end up with these drama women because the women that they like were the ones who constantly validated them. And you probably know this. The women that are constantly getting validated and giving validation are the most drama and needy filled women possible. Exactly. And that's why he always ends up in these yo-yo crazy relationships, because he ends up, these guys sometimes end up seeking out those women that are high drama because they also validate the guy more than anything. Right. And they're like clingers. Whereas like, women's like, trying to validate me all the time. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Like, I don't need it. And something's weird about you if you're trying to you're like a clinger, trying to validate me all the time. So
that's part of it. I'm telling you, a lot of this is mindset, man. A lot of dudes, they have a particular mindset that causes them to be insecure, needy, nervous around women, all these different things. And then so this is why you see on the news a lot where guys end up killing themselves or they end up hurting somebody else or beating up somebody because of some girl or a situation with a woman. And that's because they got their sense of happiness, well-being, and all their validation through women. And that's dangerous. And that's why I tell guys that the game isn't about the woman, it's about them. And so the thing is, if you understand that it's about you, all you're thinking about is, oh, well, if that girl rejects me, that's cool, because all that means is that she's not the right chick. If she was the right chick, we'd be talking and we'd be making something happen. So it's fine. I'm gonna just go to another girl to make it happen. But if you're looking at it like, damn, every next girl, she has to say yes because I can't take another no, because if she says no, I'm gonna feel bad. There should be no feeling in relation to a woman rejecting you or even accepting you. I always say it like this. Your confidence should be at a 10 before you approach a girl, at a 10 while you're talking to the girl, and at a 10 after you talk to the girl, no matter what happens. You see what I'm saying? So it shouldn't be predicated on that. The problem is that in our own heads, we feel needy or feel like we need for that to happen. It's just like if I wanted to go buy some sneakers at Foot Locker and the type of sneakers I wanted was out of stock and they said, yo, we ain't got none. I'm not going to be like, oh my God, I feel so bad, I'm going to cry. I'm a loser because they didn't give me what I wanted. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you don't do that with that. But with a woman, you put so much emphasis and so much like value on this interaction happening when you don't realize that there's so many women out there. The next girl you talk to is probably going to be hotter, cooler, sexier than this girl. You know what I'm saying? Like, why even worried about it?
Yeah, but I do think that like having some success is needed to help propel you forward, because otherwise you feel like you're getting nowhere and all of them are rejecting. One problem with online dating and guys that have bad profiles on Tinder, if they're getting no matches, they get in their head that no women like them, that they're unlovable, that they're unlikable. And so getting some success, I think, is key to kind of keeping that momentum going. But like, I tell my students this, like, whenever they complain about getting rejected, I'm like, bro, I've gotten rejected 10 times as much as you have.
Right.
At least.
Exactly.
Right. The guys in the game just know that rejection is part of the game.
Exactly.
Like, this is how it is. Like, no guy gets all the women that they approach. No one. It doesn't matter how tall, good looking guys. There's not a single guy out there that's done hundreds or thousands of approaches that got every single woman they talk to. And so, like, just like the basketball players, the best in the history of basketball missed the most shots because they played the most. They took the most shots.
I was in a situation where I had a woman literally walk out on me on a date, like just got up and left in a rage, like she was mad at some shit I said. I was like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of stuff like that happens. I've had women where I approach girls on the street, they just ignore me. You understand? That happens all the time. But see, a lot of guys, they don't understand that that's part of the game. You see what I mean? But the thing is that it means nothing. You see what I mean? But a lot of guys make it mean something because they're like, oh my God, I have to get this girl. But then to your point too, I think a lot of times, even if a guy doesn't have success, like let's say he's a virgin or he's getting no matches on Tinder and none of that stuff, right? I think guys need to keep in mind also that they have to look at successes in other areas of their life too, not just with women, because then it brings you back to the focus of understanding that you're the type of guy who can make things happen. Because a lot of times, like what a lot of guys think about success generally is they think, well, I can't be successful if nothing happened for me to be successful. That's not true. You see what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of shit that happened in your life anyway, but you never take that into account. But even with that, it's not necessarily something had to happen. It's you have to have the belief that you can do it, even in the thought process or even in the reality that nothing has happened yet. It's really it's the thought you can do it. It's not actually if you can. The thought of you can do it is more powerful than if you think you can, because or it's more powerful than knowing you can. Because this is the thing. People get competence mixed up with confidence. So competence means I know how to do something, right? So now you can be confident because you're competent. So for example, I can say, I know how to fix computers. So if your computer breaks, I can say, oh, I'm confident that I could fix your computer. But part of my confidence comes from the fact that I'm competent in fixing computers. Now, core confidence comes from if your computer was broke and I have no idea how to fix a computer, and I say, you know what? I think I can fix that computer, even though I have no idea. That's core confidence. Believing you can, even though there's no evidence that you can. That's where the core confidence comes from. But nobody understands that. See, and the most confident people are like that, where they drum up their confidence from valuing themselves so much that they go and do the thing anyway, even though that they know they might fail. Because they still are like, I'm going to go do it anyway. And even if they fail, they're like, you know what? I'm going to retrack, see what I can do better so I can get success. It's just really a mindset thing. But unfortunately, we've been beat down so much that a lot of people think that they can't because their brother, their sister, their friends, YouTube is telling you it's over, bro. You're a 5-foot manlet, bro. You can't. You see what I'm saying? All of these things are beating you down, telling you you can't. That's why it's hard for people to get that core confidence, because it's there inside them, but they have to unlock it. But they can't see it because they have all this nonsense over them. It's just like I use the example of if there was a car and it had like some jewelry in the car, but the car it had a bunch of dust on it. It was dusty. You couldn't even see through the windows. So now you got to wash the windows off. You got to take off all the dust, and you look inside and you see the jewels. So you got to take off all the insecurity, take off all the self-doubt, take off all of the nonsense going on in your head so you can see the jewels inside you. That's why my slogan is the truth is inside you. You see what I'm saying? Because you have to see the truth in you, because society has been constantly programming you to tell you you're nothing. You see what I'm saying? And then so now, not only do the top of society is saying, they got their little minions on YouTube also telling you you're nothing. You see what I'm saying? And they're telling you this directly with the black pill, and they're telling you indirectly by saying, bro, the women, you ain't got no value unless you're a high value man, bro. You got a gym max. You see what I'm saying? Like
the digits, it's all like the metrics.
Right.
Dude, that was so amazing, because you just explained the white pill. Like that's really what my message is all about. I might have to clip that out. That was so good. Yeah, so I talk about this because I talk about it a little bit differently, like courage. Courage is doing something in the face of not knowing whether you can do it. And that's one of the most masculine traits possible. It's easy to be confident when you're competent. It's hard to be courageous. And so I need to do more videos on courage, because that's a real masculine trait that is hard to have. It's hard to be courageous. It's easy to be confident when you're competent. But I think you hit the nail on the head too, of something where do you get your self-worth and draw that from? it's might be confidence and competence in other areas of your life. Like you said, that you aren't relying on women, successful career, successful business, success at the gym. And that's why I talk about with the looks maxing is if you really have no inner core confidence in your looks, or you feel so down and you feel ugly, then you might go to the gym for yourself, right? You go to your gym to get that core confidence in how you look, and you like the way you look yourself.
Right.
Then you have that internal self-worth that you can now go forward with and not rely on a woman's validation for that, because you like the way you look in the mirror. For me, when I was a natural going into pickup, I could get the women, I couldn't keep the women. That's how I ended up in pickup, because I was a short dude and I had the short man complex, the Napoleon complex, and I was needy when I get in a relationship. But getting the women, I was very social and I could get very attractive women. So I was technically a natural going into becoming a pickup artist. But what happened was I was terrible at cold approach, because I was really good in social situations like college. But I was able to take that and be like, well, I suck at this. But I think I can get good at this because I was good at getting women in social situations. When someone would introduce me to a woman, I could do that. Now I'm awful at just walking up to a woman in a bar and doing anything as a pickup artist, but I can learn this. And I took that and said, well, I'm going to get really good at this because it's just another system I got to learn. And that's how I got really good at cold approach. But I understand if a guy's had no success, that it's hard. And so you're right. Like, there is benefit to building up other areas of your life and believing in yourself. And I talk about this guys too, like, maybe you're really good at video games. That's fine. You're really good at it. Don't be ashamed of that. Like, it's a talent. It's a skill. Anything can be a skill. And it's just how you talk about it. If you're embarrassed by it, you're never getting anywhere. But if you're like, you know, I'm one of the best in the world at this video game, that's a cool accomplishment. It's not going to get you girls by itself. But if you're proud of it and you're able to talk about that, the women don't have to give a crap about video games. You don't even have to talk about it. You just be like, you know, what, I like video games. That's something about me that's important. I'm really good at it. I also do this for work. And then you move on to other topics, but she can tell if you're ashamed of it or if you're proud of it.
Right. Because that energy you have of feeling proud of the fact that you can do things and that you're confident in that confidence comes out in what you're talking about. See, see, the problem is like, because even when dudes, you talk about be on your purpose, right? So me and my dude Miles used to talk about this years ago, and a lot of guys bastardize the freaking phrase. And what they mean by it now is, oh, do all this stuff and get money and girls are going to chase you. That's not really what being on your purpose really is about. What it's saying is that if you're being on your purpose, doing what you want to do in your life, right? That makes you a more happier person because you're just being you and doing you. So now if I'm a happy person doing what I want to do, how do you think I'm going to come across the women? I'm going to come across the women with more energy, more charisma, more confidence, because I'm not looking for the woman to make me happy. I'm happy on my own. I'm happy doing what I do. I'm good doing me. So now whether or not I get the girl, it doesn't matter, because that's just another part of my life that I'm doing. Just like I might go play video games. I might go to the gym. I might go eat. I might go on a roller coaster. I might go watch a movie. I might go have sex with a girl. The problem is that a lot of guys put the dealings of women on a pedestal. So now, just like we was talking about where dudes try to separate looks and game, everything is under the umbrella of game, which is life. Everything is in your life. So why are you making talking to a woman more important than you playing your video games? Or why are you making talking to a woman more important than you working out? Why is the woman have more importance than any other thing in your life? You don't get nervous when you go up to the McDonald's and say, hey, let me get a number 2 with a large fries. You're talking to a stranger, right? You're telling them exactly what you want, right? Why can't you do that with a girl? Why can't you go up to a girl? Hey, miss, I came over here. I thought you was really sexy. My name is Locario. Listen, I think me and you should get together this weekend, hang out, have some fun. Here's my number. Why can't you do that? You see what I'm saying? But dudes make that a big deal because they're looking at that as the most important thing, and they're looking at that as validation for who they are versus understanding who they are already has value, and they're got to put that value out into the world and make shit happen. You see what I mean?
Yeah, and I think they take it as like that's like the outcome independence. They're always like, well, if I don't get her, I didn't get anywhere. Right. That's why, like with my students, I'm like, learn the skill. It's a skill, and if you're learning the skill, it's just like shooting a basketball. You have to miss a lot of times to improve the skill. And you look at I was debating Wheat Waffles, the black, well, he's kind of black pill or kind of not. He's really into looks though. And I was debating him on this because he was like, you shouldn't be proud of rejection. And I'm like, no, you should, because at least you tried, and then you can improve upon that. You can learn from the rejection and you can get better the next time. So if you go out and approach women as trying to learn a skill in order to improve that skill to talk to women, you will view rejection totally differently.
Right.
You'll start writing notes down and being like, okay, I talked to this woman. Why did it go poorly? Oh, I scared her because I came up from the side and she was nervous the whole time because I didn't approach from the front and she didn't see me coming and she was a little nervous the whole time. Write that down. Never scare a woman, like come up behind her when I'm trying to talk to her. And you take notes on that and you're like excited that you have things to learn. So you should absolutely be proud of yourself for not getting rejected, but proud of yourself for doing that stuff that led to the rejection, because you're better than the guy who didn't try at all. You're better than the guy who didn't try at all. Be proud of that. I'm like, that was total nonsense. He was like, well, they're proud of the rejection. Well, no one's proud of the rejection. They're proud that they tried despite the rejection. No one's proud of getting rejected. No one goes out to get rejected. He made it seem like there's guys trying to do that. I'm like, no one's trying to do that.
Right. But it's about learning. It's about learning about the situation, learning, and also learning about your, like basically learning about yourself. Because just like you said, you can be like, oh, well, I approached it this way. I noticed she was startled. So, I noticed I keep doing that. Let me switch this up to do it this way. Then on top of that, you can learn even more about your own feelings about it. You could say, damn, I realized I let like 10 girls pass by before I said anything because I was nervous. Let me try to break that. Let me break that down to 5 girls before I approach. You know what I'm saying? Like you get better and better. Or you're like, man, I noticed when I was talking to her, I kind of didn't know what to say. I ran out of stuff to say. Let me think of some things that I might want to talk about the next time I'm talking to a woman. What are my goals? What do I want to do with a girl when I get at her? Like these things help you because the rejections are making you stronger, so that when you actually make things happen with a woman, you're going to, because think about it this way. If you get the girl, you still need to know how to communicate with her. What's the best way to learn how to communicate with girls? I don't know, maybe approach a lot of girls and talk to them.
Yeah, right. Well, so one of the things I think, like we're talking about, right, if you put women on a pedestal, she's above my league or whatever, you basically have no shot, right? But one of the ways a lot of guys don't realize they're pedestaling girls is they're only talking to women when they go out, or only talking to attractive women. That's only ones they approach. And then of course you're nervous, you're putting in a higher plane rather than being social with people in general. If you're not extroverted, I'm not saying you need to talk to 30 people a day like I do, but like talk to the person behind the counter, talk to your barista, talk to like a guy that's just chilling there by the bar, say what's up, like talk to people. And then you've now not pedestaling the woman. She's just another person to talk to. Yes, there's a little bit more at stake. You're trying to develop something with that woman. But when you're not talking to other people, you've basically, by definition, pedestalized every approach you do now, because you're only talking to women you're attracted to. So that's one of the things I do with the guys. But I think that's a core issue guys don't realize, and they hide behind I'm an introvert, so that's why I never talk to anyone. So what do you think about all those copes? Like I'm an introvert, so now I can't do this, or what, what kind of copes do guys give you? I should ask that. What excuses do you hear all the time?
Yeah, it's all fair. They come up with ridiculous stuff like, oh, I don't want to approach her because she's gonna call the cops on me and say I'm sexually harassing her, or they're like, oh, it doesn't make any sense. I'm just going to wait for choosing signals. They come with all this stuff to avoid.
Oh, choosing signals is the worst thing ever. I'm like, bro, how many signals have I missed in my entire life that I'm clueless of? No, I just walk up because I don't know if I've missed her flipping her hair or giving me an eye wink. I don't even care. Like, how am I supposed to? Who is good at reading signals? These guys that think they're good at choosing signals, I guarantee you they miss half the signals women are giving off.
And then on top of that, you're scared to approach a girl. That means that you don't really have enough practice or skill to have those conversations. So even if you were waiting for choosing signals and then you did want to approach, like what are you going to do with that?
Also, how do you get choosing signals from a woman that's facing the bartender?
Right.
And never turns around.
Right.
What are you supposed to do? You're just supposed to stand there with your drink waiting for her to turn around and give you choosing signals? Or do you walk up and approach?
You got to jump over to the bar and stare in the face. Make sure. I'm like, these guys, that's what I'm saying. They come up with all these excuses because they're scared to actually do the work. And again, it's all rooted in fear of them not understanding their value. That's all it is. It's terrible out here. So that's why I think a lot of guys, you know, the more realistic men are when it comes to dating and relationships and actually like going out there to get what they want, the more success they're going to see at a certain point. You see what I'm saying? It's just like, for example, like you might have friends who BS and talking about, yo, we're going to start a business. And they talk a bunch of shit about starting a business. And a year goes by, nothing happens. But then when that person who's really about it, you know, starts an LLC, they start to really, you know, get their website done, they get their products, whatever they're doing in their business. Then you're like, okay, I see this person's getting progress. They're starting to make money. They're doing a thing. So as soon as you start to get real about it, that's when the real results will come. A lot of guys, they're just mentally masturbating at this point online, and they're not really taking heed to the results. You know, I mean, taking the steps to get to
that's one of the hardest things for me to do is to get the guys off the content train
right
and onto the you know, doing this shit train. And I think that's a real issue, especially as YouTube develops more into drama territory, more into blaming women territory. I think that is a challenge. Do we have any questions from from the guys? Want to ask Mr. Locario anything? I kept you here for quite a while, so any other questions? Anything else you guys want to ask him while I have him here? By the way, Mr. Locario, I really appreciate you coming on. Like, man, this was fantastic. Like, you're always spitting facts, man. It's hard to like. I need to clip out some sound bites because this is some gold you're spitting here.
That'll be good. Now I'm down.
I appreciate you having me. Yeah, appreciate that. And yeah, welcome back anytime. I don't know if you have anything else you want to talk about, but you really killed it there.
Yeah, just want to shout out to you, man. Appreciate you having me on, man. I really appreciate you, man. I see you doing some big things, doing some good work. And make sure, guys, if you want to hit me up, go to badboymembership.com to join the Bad Boy membership. That's where you get 45 through 90-minute audio and video, step-by-step dating advice tutorials every month. Also, make sure you guys hit me up on Instagram at real Mr. Locario, or hit me up at the main site, which is mrlocario.com. So, you know, get me up over there.
Yeah, I appreciate this, guys. So it looks like the audience had fun. They like this. Yeah, I haven't actually talked to Steve at all. So I you know, maybe he'll be interested. I'll try and talk to him, see if he wants to.
Some good shit, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, see if he wants to do something, because he's your, right-hand man. But yeah, so I'll pin in the comments. I'll put your channel. Make sure also, guys, go subscribe to Mr. Locario. He's spitting facts on the daily. Do you stream every day? Like, how do you do? You're like killing it.
It might be every day almost, but like, yeah, probably like 5 times a week or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying?
Man, you're a hustler. I love it. So make sure you guys go check out Mr. Locario's channel. I'll pin in the first comment his Bad Boy membership. And yeah, just keep hustling. And guys, like, me and Mr. Locario are telling you, get out there and do stuff. Turn off your YouTube. Turn off that YouTube. Watch a couple of Mr. Locario streams, watch a couple of White Pill streams, and then get out there. Not even us. Get out there and do the stuff, meet the women. So thank you guys for watching. Thanks, Mr. Locario, for being here. Really great stuff that he's spit out here today. Thanks, guys, for watching, and we'll catch you guys later.
Peace.